Hello and welcome again to Money Tips. This is Charles Kelly. Wishing you all a great Christmas. It's almost Christmas now. Christmas is almost on us, upon us, and everyone's rushing around shopping and doing all those sort of bits and pieces. So I thought I'd give you my top 10 Christmas savings tips. In other words, ways you can save money around Christmas, which is often the most expensive time of the year and often the time when people get into the most debt and end up with those January blues and those credit card bills and all the rest of it. We've all been there. So let's run through the first one. And that is that, the best way of anything really is planning, isn't it? Planning Christmas, planning your budget and planning it within a budget rather than just saying we're going to have the most extravagant Christmas. I mean, some people really go over the top, don't they? They spend thousands of pounds on lights and I don't know what their electricity bill is at the end of it, but some people really go over the top. So you've got to be careful not to get carried away. Have a budget and stick to it. And just like when you're doing a building project, I suppose you've got to have a budget and stick to it and not get carried away putting in gold taps and special tiles and all that sort of stuff. Right, so that's number one. Number two is don't borrow on expensive credit cards, and especially those store cards. Now remember, some of these cards can charge interest rates of up to 40%. So it's just crazy. So don't use these cards, just avoid them or just be very, very careful. I would recommend using a credit card to buy stuff with because you get that extra consumer protection that goes with using a credit card as opposed to a debit card where you haven't got so many rights if things go wrong or the supplier goes bust or whatever. So number three is now often with family, you're buying expensive presents and they're buying you expensive things back, and it could be with girlfriend, partners, husband and wife. You're buying each other very expensive gifts, which sometimes you don't even want. So why not just call a truce and say, look, let's just stop all this. It's getting more and more expensive every year. Let's just stop this nonsense and maybe get back to the spirit of Christmas and maybe have fun. Buy something like these Secret Santa presents you buy for £10. They're sometimes a lot more fun than some of the expensive stuff that you get. So call a truce on extravagant and expensive gifts and maybe give fun presents instead. That's a way I think of really saving money. Number four is plan ahead and shop early for Christmas gifts, and especially those travel plans. Especially if you're traveling abroad, you've got to really book January, February, March for that Christmas period. Otherwise, it's very expensive. Even the rail tickets, if you can get them a good few months early, you can get real good bargains. But I think plan ahead and shop for gifts. As you get to towards Christmas, people are rushing around. There's not so much stuff. Maybe the stuff you want is gone and you're paying extra for things, or you haven't got time to go around. So by planning early and looking online, you can get things a lot cheaper. Now, the most organised people I know, they do their Christmas shopping. They're starting their Christmas shopping from January. And certainly from September, October, they've got most of it done because they're picking up things at various times when they're cheap and they've got it all organised. They're the most organised people. The disorganised people, sometimes like me, rushing around on Christmas Eve to buy stuff, and you always end up spending more than you should really. So that's the planning ahead tip. Number five is defer buying Christmas presents until after the Boxing Day sales. Now, Boxing Day in the UK is the 26th of December, and that's when all the shops open and they have sales. Now, a lot of times you're not going to see relatives and friends and family till after Christmas, and so why not buy the presents after Christmas in the sales? And if you can put it off to even later till January, even better. But no, within reason, I think in a lot of cases you can buy stuff in the sale. Now, some shops, of course, are having sales even on Christmas Eve, but the big sales are on Boxing Day. Number six then is find the best deals online and places like eBay. Again, this is about planning ahead, isn't it? Taking the time to look for those bargains. And if you leave it to the last minute, you haven't got time, have you? Because you can't wait for the deliveries. But by planning ahead and looking online, you can save a fortune. Then number seven is when you're going out and buying stuff, if you use certain credit cards, you can earn up to 5% cash back on those cards. And look out for these cards. I mean, they're not all paying 5%, but certainly can earn 1 or 2%. You can get rewards. Most of the banks have them. Just Google cashback cards and you'll get the best deals there. I'm not pushing anyone in particular, but that's one way of getting some money back for all your expenditure. 8 is make a list and stick to it. I'm one of the world's worst at this. I go out rushing around, think I'll buy this and buy that. But if you make a list and you plan it and you stick to that list, you can stick to the list and within your budget. Number 9 then is avoid impulse purchases. Like me running around saying, oh, I must buy this, I've got to get that perfume. Because you're leaving things to the last minute, you're at the mercy of everything. And also, when I say impulse purchases, when you go out to buy a certain item, but you end up seeing a jacket you like or something you like, you tend to get carried away in the Christmas shopping spirit and you end up buying more things than you need. And that's true of life in general. It's always wiser to plan for the things you need rather than just picking up things because they're on sale or because it seems like a bargain and then you never use it because you didn't really want it or need it in the first place. And number 10 then is to save for Christmas instead of getting into debt. Maybe, a lot of people in the old days used to have a Christmas savings club or a Christmas box club where people would put money together and somebody would be the treasurer and by putting away a certain amount of money each month or each week, by December they'd have a good amount of money. I think they fell out of fashion more recently, especially there was a few scandals where people run off with the Christmas money and that sort of thing. But it's still a good way to do it yourself, is to save money for Christmas rather than getting into debt. And as we said, and that's the 10 then. So plan for Christmas within your budget. Don't borrow on expensive credit cards. Number 3 is call a truce on expensive and extravagant gifts. Number 4 is plan ahead and shop early for the gifts and for any travel plans. Christmas is the most expensive time to travel. Number 5 is defer buying presents until the Boxing Day sales, December the 26th. Number 6 is find the best deals online on things like eBay, and you need to do this early. Maybe it's too late already now. Number 7 is earn credit card cashback points of up to 5% cash back on what you spend. Number 8 is make a list and stick to that list. And number 9, just by making that list, you'll probably save yourself money by thinking about it and planning. You will save money just by making that list. Number 9 is to avoid impulse purchases on things you never really planned to buy. Number 10 is to save for Christmas instead of getting into debt. And so those are my top 10 tips. You could, of course, just forget about Christmas altogether and cancel Christmas, just go on holiday in the middle of December. But you probably wouldn't get away with that. I find it's a bit of a crazy time of year. Obviously, people are spending a huge amount of money, but apparently the sales are a little bit down at the moment because I think people have spent a lot of money on the Black Friday, which is another peak in spending. Personally, I think Christmas has become overblown. We spend too much money. It's the holiday period has become longer and longer and longer. People have already started closing up for business last Friday, and even though you've still got Monday the 23rd, which is a normal working day, people are closing up. December the 24th is not a holiday, it's not a bank holiday, people are still closed. So they go off on Friday and they don't come back till sometime in January. And some of them are not coming back, they're not even coming back on January the 1st. Some of them are coming back, way into January because they miss out that early, that first period. So instead of coming back on the 1st, they say, well, the 1st is a bank holiday, so the 2nd and the 3rd are Thursday and Friday. So let's forget about Thursday and Friday. Let's come back on Monday the 6th instead. I just think it's become too long and too overblown myself. We've lost the spirit of Christmas, but I've just given you a few ways you can save money at Christmas. Also, you might want to help people by, this story of give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for life. Well, this book here, my book, Money Can Buy Happiness, will teach people how to fish for life, teach your kids how to handle money, teach people that need a bit of help with handling money. Now, okay, you won't get the hardback in time for Christmas, but you could get the Kindle version in time for Christmas. So thanks for listening, and thanks for tuning in on Facebook Live. Hi to all my friends there, and on my podcast, my free podcast, which you can find on iTunes and Stitcher, and on my website moneytipsdaily.com. So thanks for listening. Great to see. If you don't hear from me again, or I don't see you tomorrow, have a great Christmas ahead, and don't go broke and don't spend too much money. Bye for now.